Hi, my name is Joseph Roy, and I'm with the Merency Metz School of Common Law. You can contact us by emailing dprocessexplained@gmail.com for any subject matter you want discussed, any questions you have. We'll do our best to answer. Now today I'm just going to read one word off of the 63 dictionary, and for those that just picked up this one, you need to go back to the first one, and where I'll read quite a bit off. Today's word would be compact, because our Constitution is considered a compact. In 1863, and 1862, 61, 60, etc., not only the Noah Webster's, but all other English dictionaries, which I have. I've got the Samuel Johnson's, I've got Walker's, I've got Nathan Phillips, Kersey. There's a handful of them, no doubt. But they're all in harmony. Whether they worded it just slightly different, it was still concluded the same definitions, 63 and back. Compact, in 1863, from the staff of the Merriam-Webster Company, that was the same staff before. An agreement, a contract between parties, a word that may be applied in a general sense to any covenant or contract between individuals. But it is a more generally applied to agreements between nations and states, as treaties and confederacies, that was what it would make. It would form a treaty or a confederacy. That's what a compact would do, according to 1863 and back. So the Constitution of the United States is a political contract between the states, or confederacies. That's what it makes. It makes treaties and confederacies. And of course, he goes on with a national compact, because nationals can make a compact, okay? Or the word is applied to the agreement of the individuals of a community. Breaking it down to almost anybody can have a compact, depending on what it is. Now in 1864, we've already covered how much they're depleting, and actually watering down is a good term, but weakening out these the strength of what these words actually meant. In 64, along with all their other fallacies and their other conspiratorial agendas to destroy America, the Merriam-Webster Company says this: an agreement between parties, a covenant or contract, either of individuals or of nations. That's it. I mean, finding space could live with that maybe sometimes, but it's always these important words that's getting going. I come up with some better words to pull out if I'm just looking for more space for these words. But here, they got rid of the confederacies, that as treaties and confederacies. Now, what is the importance here? We went over these words: Congress, federal, state, union. All of these words have an importance to form in your mind what your government is or what it is not. What is it with the 64 that by the time you went through their lessons and what they want you to learn, and the children that will be picking this up from generations thereafter, getting rid of this and replacing it with that, forms an entire different government? So the question is did we change our government through constitutional amendment and by the authority of the Constitution that we've all agreed on, and each generation seems to agree on it? Jefferson was of the school that we should have a convention every 20 years. And that makes a little sense in a way, but there's no telling where it would be at. We've got to have something a little bit solid, but okay, I can live with that. If there's problems, that's what Article 5 is for. You amend. Now, you don't change the Constitution, you amend. And again, strict definition is where it is important that an amendment is exactly that. It's amending something. It's not changing, or the whole spirit of the Constitution, such as the supposed 14th Amendment, as they call it. But that's like calling a elephant a mouse, and say, well, a mouse came in the room today and got the cheese, so it was only right that mouse got the cheese. Well, no, it was an elephant that came in and got the cheese. So it wouldn't be the same. And a full change of government, which that's what the 14th Amendment did, had so many changes that it's possible to call it an amendment. We'll get into that later. But we do have a total change done without even Article 5. The Merriam-Webster Company did it for you. You have another complete country in your mind. Your patriotism is geared towards a new union, not the old. Now, if you're for that, you should be hating Madison, Jefferson, Adams, George Washington. You should despise them because they don't have anything to do with this new union. They despise it, okay? They don't like democracy. They don't go for a union that is a national government. And I'll explain this. Now, Madison did want a national government. But what you got to give Madison credit for is when he didn't get it, he was being honest about it. He's the one that drafted up the Constitution. And, of course, he used the word national because it was his intentions to do a national government. But it failed. They struck out the word national and put the words the United States of America in its place. So you didn't get a national government. We don't have a national government. We don't have a national constitution. We have a federal constitution, which means a confederacy. This is the importance of what I'm here for. If I'm seeing something that maybe I'm delusional or something, I'm seeing things I don't see, yeah, it's there. So I'm not hallucinating dictionaries. And I happen to know that dictionaries carry the times. If that's all you got to look up is what your dictionary is going to tell you, you're going to have some problems. Especially if they're going to falsify things and destroy your mind, because that's exactly what that would do. But the form of government is what's important. Do we have the original organic Constitution actually in place? Well, they tell us they do. In fact, after the war, they went into the 35th Congress. They didn't start a new Congress at number one for this new government that got here. They started off with supposedly the 13th Amendment, not a First Amendment for a new Constitution. They didn't do this. They made it look like we just floated right on into where we're at. Now we're in the year 2000, and no changes, just a few little political changes of what our legislature has done and our amendments that we did. And this is the idea that I think is cast upon everybody to view and to reflect on. Well, that's not what happened. I'm sorry, but your country is here by fraud. It's not here one bit by the faith and our goals that we had in this country's beginning. If we're going to wipe out the old way, then let's wipe it out. Let's reject Thomas Jefferson. Let's reject Ben Franklin. Let's reject them. I'm talking about despise them. They're enemies. They are enemies to this union. Yet now this union has to be clever. They're going to always bring up good old George, good old Ben, the good old boys. We're all part of them. But that's what a fox would do. You know, he'd come into the hen house explaining to the hens that he wants to repair the hose that seems to be allowing the wolves to come in. So Mr. Fox would come in and explain to the chickens that, you know, I'm here to help you. And I know you need some repairs, so let's see what we can do. But whatever you do now, don't let Mr. Wolf get here. And all the chickens, cluck, 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 cluck. You know what? Yeah, good old Mr. Fox. He's here for us. Well, that's what the new union is here for. It's Mr. Fox here, warning us against the wolf. Now, if we have this new government, defrauded on you, using deceit to make you think that we're it. But I ask you this, do we respect this? Do we honor it? Do we accept their flags, waved it first, and would you pledge allegiance to it? Which, by the way, the Pledge of Allegiance came in after the Civil War, too. In fact, there's a story in the Congressional Records where a person was looking for the benefits of the men in the military, and the husband had died, so she was trying to claim that she supposed got some benefits. Okay. Well, in the records there, it showed that she was proving that her husband showed up at a Union camp and asked for the journal, which was the normal way to do it in those days. And you show up and tell them you want to be in the Army, and then they go through whatever they do. They didn't have a Bible present. And so what did this Union soldier do but pull a flag down and say, put your oath on this flag? So now we know what they think of an inanimate object called a flag. And so, you know, a flag, if you look for it in law, there's only two reasons that I would consider giving it any value. Is one, it identifies you. If you're out there in the high seas and you've got a ship out there, it was known under the law of nations to fly your flag so that we know who you are. Okay? That makes sense. That's all it's for. So, to honor it in such a way that you pledge allegiance to, well, I've got a problem with that. I'm not going to pledge allegiance to a flag. In fact, you know, I'm not going to pledge allegiance to any person. That's the end of that one. Jesus Christ and God and the Trinity, I'll be glad to. But not a person or a flag. Now, one thing that we need to get clear here is our allegiance. They've taught you to just thank everybody for what they do. Anybody in a badge, in a robe, they got to be the good guys and honor them. That's not true here because they're not your government. Your government is back here. You don't have it anymore, at least by definition. Whether you can argue that the offices still exist, they're just contaminated with the new thieves and robbers. And the office still exists, and that's what I maintain. The office still exists. So I don't care how idiotic this person that's sitting in this office as a judge or some kind of legislature, he owes me what that office requires of him. He don't owe me his stuff, his theories, his beliefs, because I know what he believes. He's deceived in words and the definition. So I already know he don't know what he's talking about. And so I think it'd be interesting to use this very thing here to go into a court. And when they ask, Mr. Lord, do you understand the charges, the nature of the charges against you? Well, absolutely not, sir. You're not going to say, Your Honor. No, I don't understand. Why would I understand? I don't even know what you're talking about. I was looking at the English language, and since I don't speak it, I only know about 15,000 of the words, and so that's less than 1%, so I know I don't speak the language. I happen to know a bunch of the words. So I'm going to have problems with even the words that I know, because I went through some of these dictionaries, and they're the same words that you know or you think you know, and so I don't know how we're going to communicate today. How can I understand the nature of the charges if we don't even have a proper definition? And I'm going to need an interpreter, but the problem with an interpreter, since I don't speak the English language, the problem with the interpreter is I know that he's also been educated wrong over here in 1864 and after. And so we're going to have a problem in understanding things, so we're going to have to do a real word search, I think, each word that's said here today. So my answer to you then is just absolutely no, I don't understand. And since I don't speak the language, the English language, then maybe I need an interpreter in here as well. So I wonder how far that would go if you maintain the truth. I mean, the problem is it would be the truth. They'll be the ones that would have to find a way to get around what you have presented. I'm walking around with these dictionaries. So, you know, the thing about it is you either got a patriotism geared right, messaged into you right, or you don't. You may be patriotic to a union that means one body, a nation, just a single body government. Or you're a confederacy and you have your states' rights, is the way to put that. Each state would have its only delegated powers, as it states in the Constitution. If they not delegated, would be reserved for the states. Now we know that. I don't have to look it up and read it verbatim, but the thing about it is do you have the right government setting a seat anywhere? You name the seat. And according to the change, they are of this change. That's what they're doing. Now, if they're that, they're not that. That is the old and the original government, understood and defined by Noah Webster, and for that matter, all the English dictionaries out there knew what those words meant. That's the government that you were supposed to be under. You was born into the lie. You raised up with the lie. Your parents was lied to. So when they told you these same things from the 64 side, you would have faith that my great-grandmother, she was very strong on democracy. My great-grandmother, she was very good on being a Republican. And, you know, we've got problems when we are deceived. Now, I'm no longer deceived here. I'm ready to stand up and do the truth. I'm hoping you are. I mean, I get it. I looked at the view, and I've got 242 views. That this thing's been out for over 3 weeks, and I've seen videos on how to make banana pudding that gets 550,000 hits. And, you know, there's a lot of good information out there, and some of it's small enough that if you just don't happen to know, it's great to go to them and learn what to do. I've went to these videos to pick up on things. There's nothing wrong with that. But what is wrong is that we are being deceived. We've been going into a so-called New World Order, as they want us to believe that we owe our allegiance to the rest of the world. And you might remember the campaigns back in the 80s, and when Michael Jackson sung at the Super Bowl, "We are the world." And you know what? We're not. They are them, and we is us, if that's the way to put it. And you know what? We can be a friendly nation. There's nothing wrong with being friendly. But we don't have to deplete, destroy, and actually put in poverty our own citizenry, extracting and forcing extra taxation out of everybody so that the rest of the world can get caught up with us. Now, if that's what you think is a good government, then, you know, you need to go back to the definitions here and find out what is a good government. One that allows you to be what you should be. And as long as you're not affecting somebody else or hurting somebody else, then you just do what your thing is. I mean, you know, that's what liberty is. Liberty is, in one sense, the opposite word of government. Try to find a way to amalgamate them together, to put so much liberty to so much government, or so much government to so much liberty, was a challenge to our forefathers. They realized that there's some government that needs to be here. And that makes sense. I can't stay up at night to make sure that the thieves and the robbers don't come and kill everybody here and rob everything. So somewhere or another, all of our neighbors need to get together. We decide that we'll hire Farmer Brown to be our guard for the night. And then when Farmer Brown gets back, says, "That was just too hard. I need a little bit more help." Well, then let's all put together. Let's get more of Farmer Brown, Farmer Jones, and force it over with. We got some little government going. The question is how much of this anti-liberty format do we need? And so our forefathers did, I would say, a pretty decent job. Not perfect, but I don't think we can get perfect. But we sure don't want to go to a point where we're just totally ruled and controlled. So, word definitions, you got your right Congress, you got your right Union, you got your right compact, you got your right commonwealth, your right federal, all of these that were properly defined what the convention in 1787 is. There's no sense in bragging on that convention if we're not going to go by it. If we're going to change with the Merriam-Webster Company and all the lexicographers out there. And in the future, I will bring up out of the law dictionaries the same thing. So we're going to try to find a format that we can get this thing going. We've got to educate ourselves. They're not going to do it for us. If you think the colleges are doing it, they're not. You think these so-called professors that knows everything, that, oh, that's Professor so-and-so, he knows everything. Well, then how come he doesn't know this? You answer that one. How come he doesn't know this? He might. He just don't want to tell you. There's a lot of money in those that work for this new government, this new union. There's plenty of money going to them. Why would you lose your job? Well, I would lose my job because I believe in being unselfish. I believe in being righteous. I'm not going to steal people the money that don't want to give it to me. And so I'm not going to get on welfare. I'm not going to sit around and find government gibbies when I know that they don't have a dime to give you. They're going to take it out of Farmer Brown and Farmer Jones and Mr. Mechanic Scott and all these people. They're going to just sit around and steal it from everybody else so that I can have my wants, since I'm going to be too lazy and I'm just going to accept my money free. And so in the meantime, I'll be stealing. So I'm not going to be doing that. So what we've got to do here, in my opinion, is that we need to study truth and reject the lies. It doesn't matter who's got it in their pockets or who's trying to present it to you. You tell them, sorry, that's a lie. So I'm going to close it out. Can't get this thing running too long. That's why I'm hurting to find the right way to get so much said in a short time. So thank you for listening to this much, and I'm going to be putting out some more. This is the Baron C. Metz School of Common Law. And we do want you to keep in touch with us, and we're going to cover things of the definitions, due process, and maybe little by little we'll be there. So thank you. May the Lord bless you.